To order at 5:34 p.m. Mr. Verbeek, can you take the roll, please?
All right, Skidmore.
As a reminder, everyone can unmute themselves.
Here.
Revere.
Here.
Canospina.
Present.
Westra.
Here.
Donnelly.
Present.
Grady.
Here.
Carter.
Present.
Fletcher.
Yeah.
Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. And gosh, I think I've forgotten in the last month some of the order of this. Joe, do you do your part next?
I believe so.
Fire away.
Thank you. Welcome to our virtual meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking on the link in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. All panelists, that is alders, commission members, and staff, have the ability to mute and unmute themselves. Commission members, please continue to use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the body, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair Donnelly, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So this meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. All speakers wishing to address the committee regarding an agenda item must first complete a registration form and submit it to the city clerk designee. Speakers may speak to the committee only after they're called by the chair. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. After speaking to the committee, well, we're not taking seats in the gallery because we're not all in the same room. The public is not allowed to address or respond to speakers or committee members unless they've been recognized by the chair of the committee. Okay, first order of business, approval of the minutes from September 16th. What's your pleasure? Alder Carter.
Move approval.
Here, motion, is there a second? Second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Or by not raising your hand, rather. There is no opposition, so motion passes. Do we have anyone registered for general public comment?
I do not see anyone register for general public comment.
Okay. Next up, disclosures and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Are there any such disclosures or recusals? All right, presentation of the consent agenda. At this time, the consent agenda will be moved with a recommended action or to grant with any recommended conditions if no action is recommended for each item. This items will be removed from the consent agenda if there are registrants opposed who wish to speak. Any items that any member of the committee would like separated for specific consideration. Items requiring ordinance changes or operator's license applications. Mr. Verbeek, will you make the first brief pass through the list and let us know what's potentially on it?
Sure. Recommending the council to grant change of agent items 6, 7, and 8, and entity reorganization for item 9, and streetery extension license premise items 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and public hearing new license 17, 18, 20, 21, and recommend the council to re-refer public hearing item number 19, also public hearing new license.
Are there any items you would like removed from the consent agenda?
If you could remove items 17, 18, 20, and 21 since they're new licenses, please.
Done.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Fletcher.
Here, I have a quick question, and I think Alder Verveer may know the answer to this, or he may not. So, as I look at kind of the application materials for 10, the Streetery extension for Wandos, it's part of the materials. I think the landlord or, the owner of the Red Shed noted that they may be reopening on or after October the 3rd. And that they may want to pursue that particular space outdoors for their own use. Are you aware of if they kind of what that situation is with the Red Shed?
Mr. Chair, would you like me to respond?
That would be excellent. Thank you, Alder Verveer.
Thank you. And thanks for the question, Mr. Fletcher. Sadly, one of the owners of the Red Shed has passed away recently, and they have not been open for many months. I don't know exactly when they were last opened. So I don't believe that they intend to reopen. At least I have not heard that. If they do intend to reopen and perhaps take advantage of the Streetery program and have their own sidewalk cafe in front of their establishment, I'm sure that will be handled administratively by the street vending coordinator and Mr. Verbeck, and of course that opportunity would revert back to the Red Shed if they wish to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. I appreciate that, and I think you've answered the other question I had, which was on item 11 with Hawks. I think there was the kind of Moreva Properties noted that they were providing permission through fall only. In case the space may be needed by a new retail tenant in future. Again, that would be dealt with administratively if there was some change in permission there, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding. I have full confidence that the staff would be able to sort that out. And I think the Streetery order is fairly clear that you need written permission of the property owner or tenant to move beyond what the ordinance normally allows for. So I think if anyone wished to reclaim their option, that would be just, again, handled by staff.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, Alder Carter.
Yes, could you go over the items on the consent agenda one more time before we vote?
Yes, the current items are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and then referring item 19.
Thank you.
Of course. Anything else? Would anyone care to move the consent agenda? Mr. Fletcher? Do I hear a second? Mr. Cano-Espina. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by remaining silent. Those opposed, raise your hand. I see no hands. The motion passes. Mr. Verbeck, would you please read out in full the items that we have just disposed of for anyone watching? If one of the items that Mr. Verbeck is about to read is yours, you have no further obligation here tonight.
The past consent agenda for ALRC meeting October 21st, 2020, recommend to council to grant item 6, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc., DBA Quick Trip 951. Number 7, change of agent, Casey's Marketing Company. Number 8, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc., DBA Quick Trip 960. Number 9, entity reorganization, Texas Roadhouse Inc. Number 10, Streetery extension of licensed premise, Wando Ventures Inc. Number 11, Streeter Extension of License Premise, The Mad Food Company, LLC. Number 12, Streeter Extension of License Premise, Thompson Cafe, LLC. Number 13, Streeter Extension of License Premise, 943 Venture, LLC. Number 14, Streeter Extension of License Premise, Madison Chocolate Company, LLC. Number 15, Streeter Extension of License Premise, Paul's Club. And recommend to council to re-refer public hearing. Number 19, public hearing new license KMKF LLC at 521 Cottage Grove Road, Class B combination liquor and beer.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So moving on, item 2, operator license application for Robert Wren. Is Robert here?
Yes.
Mr. Kino-Espina?
I'm sorry, Chair. I think that I heard Jim said that our new member, Karen Reese, was not going to be with us until the next time, but I actually see her in it, and I just wanted to acknowledge her and just give the opportunity for everybody to acknowledge that she's here. I don't know if she can formally vote, but welcome to be at the committee, Karen. Sorry. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Okay, that was Mr. Kino-Espina. So Robert Wren is here?
Yes.
All right. So Captain Donahue, can you tell us what we are looking at, please?
I can. Good evening, Mr. Wren.
Good evening.
When you submit a license, the Records Department of the Police Department does a background investigation, and there's a series of guidelines that they go by.
Okay.
And I want to acknowledge to the committee prior to reading this that this is a very old conviction. But it appears as though there was a felony conviction in 1995 for obstruction of justice, which was left off of your application. And guideline number 5 indicates applicants must truthfully and completely fill out applications. And so it looks like it was in Illinois, just looking for an explanation from you of the reason that that was left off of your application.
Yeah, I went away in like maybe a year later after that, but I had a lot of open cases still going on before I went to caught a federal case. So I honestly probably just forget all about it. I thought my federal case, I actually honestly forgot about it because I was gone for my last, 96, 97, the felony case I had for the federal. So that was over 20 years. So it just slipped my mind.
Okay. And is the other case that you're talking about, was that for aggravated battery, or was that a different?
What year was that?
The battery is in 1996.
Yeah, that probably would have been all tied around to that, leading up to that conviction I got for the big one. All that would have been around.
Okay. Can you talk about the big one? Because I don't know that that's on your application either.
Well, that's the one I probably put last time I had a felony was when I got indicted for a felony for federal for possession with intent. Around that time I was young and going, trying to find my way, but the wrong way. But all that probably ties into my adolescent years as acting out. So that probably would have been resisting law enforcement at a bar or fighting at a bar or something like that. Just, acting out.
Okay. And your possession charge, what year was that?
96 or 97.
Okay. Just for the committee's information, that one was not on the application either. And then my only other question, Mr. Wren, are you currently under any kind of, I guess it would be federal supervision or otherwise?
No, I haven't been on supervision or anything in a long time.
Okay.
No, I'm not. But may I ask a question? you say I left out information on my application as far as explanation, or did I leave out information that said that I wasn't convicted of anything? Because I can't really see offhand what the application asks for, but if I would have responded that I was convicted of a felony back then, or did it actually how many years ago or anything like that for me to not disclose that information?
Sure. So the application asks you to list all criminal convictions, and you had one criminal conviction listed, and that looks like it was a possession in 1996. There's
that's the one I'm talking about with the federal. Yeah.
Okay. Then the two others, it looks like were Illinois state charges, one for aggravated battery of either a police officer or a fireman, and the other was an obstruction or a destruction of evidence charge. Sometimes the statutes don't correspond, so I don't know exactly what the Illinois statute.
So did I list them on my application?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Did I? Is them the one? Did I not list those on my application?
Correct. The two charges from were not listed.
Right. So I'm wondering, was I even convicted of them? Because, like I said, I was still going through court on a lot of stuff when I caught the federal case. So a lot of it I never went to court for. It was just thrown out because of how much time I got on the federal case.
Yeah, these show criminal history that they were convictions. But more importantly, just if there was any specific reason why they were left off of your application.
Yeah, I deny them. It's been so long. I honestly forgot about them.
Understood. It was a long.
It looks like Alder Carter has a question. Alder Carter?
I have two questions. First of all, on my application, the dates are cut off. So after I asked Robert a question, Captain Donahue, can you give us the two dates? Robert, can you tell me what you will be doing at Rockies?
Usually I just run the cash register stock and basically, try to keep the crowd moving, try to keep peace in there and everything. It's nothing. It's just like it's like you're any other liquor store, just stocking and dealing with customers.
Okay, so you will be also a cashier, so stocking and a cashier.
Yeah.
Am I right on that?
Yes.
And do you feel that this position will entice you to slip back into your former ways?
No, this is what I do for just extra cash on the weekends. My main profession is I do Madison die casting. I'm a skilled machine operator, work 30 shift. So what I would do, I would probably work there on a Friday or Saturday and try to, just make extra cash, or helping him out. But it's not my main profession. And no, it wouldn't cause me to slip on doing anything.
Okay.
It might give me a head dealing with the people, but as far as me slipping, I'm under control.
Did you have any anger issues in the past? And have you gone through anger management?
Well, I suffered a major loss while I was in prison. I lost my kids and my mom. They was murdered by my brother. So, I went through a little counseling and everything, but
right.
as far as no, I don't really. I got, God bless me. I got twins, a boy and a girl. They were born on my son's birthday, so I got too much other stuff to worry about than what somebody else doing. I'm just trying to live.
So you're just trying to keep yourself on the straight and narrow, so to speak, and
definitely.
Putting the past in the past.
Most definitely. I've done that already.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck in the future. Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Mr. Cano Espina. You're on mute, Mr. Kino-Espina.
Sorry, if there's nobody else in the queue, I would like to move to approve.
Mr. Grady is in the queue.
Second.
Oh, well, that was easy. We have a motion and a second. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have one question, if I might, and before we vote on the motion at hand. So, Mr. Wren, thank you for being here. My one question I don't think we've covered yet is on your application, which you completed back in July. It did say you have a pending charge, but I'm not quite sure what it is because of the acronym you used, the abbreviation you used.
It should have been a what year
suspended.
What year was? Yeah. I just went and took care of that. It was somebody in Illinois from '95. I was riding a scooter and I had a ticket or something. I didn't know I was suspended in Illinois. I'm good everywhere else in Indiana, Wisconsin, and Iowa. It was Indiana, Iowa, but Illinois has had me tied up on my license and I didn't know. So I was driving through there on my way to Alabama and got pulled over.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to confirm that WS meant while suspended. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I suspended, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And congratulations on turning your life around, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition, raise your hand and we will do a roll call vote. I see no opposition, so the motion passes. Next, item 3, operator license.
Before we go to the next item, Chair, can I get the conviction dates that are cut off on my application?
Sure.
For Robert Wren, they're all cut off. So the obstruction for justice, do you have those dates? All I have is December. It could be in a year. And then for the aggravation battery, all I have is May.
Sure. The conviction on the obstruction of justice is 12/14 of 95. And for the aggravated battery, it's 5/2 of 96.
Thank you. Carry on, Chair, carry on.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Next up, item 3, operator license application for Rolanda Lynch. Is Rolanda here?
I do not see her registered.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Alder Carter. Alder Carter, you're muted.
Can we table number 3 and then come back if she connects with us?
We could, but my recommendation would be to refer, and then if she reappears, you could move to reconsider.
Okay, that's fine. I move to refer.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Mr. Kino-Espina. Any discussion? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition to referring item 3, indicate by raising your hand. I'm going to assume that Alder Carter is not in opposition since she made the motion, so the motion passes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. Next item 4, operator license application for Wendy Rutherford. Is Wendy here?
I do not see Wendy has registered to speak, and I do not see anyone that says Wendy in the attendees.
Mr. Fletcher.
Move referral to our next meeting.
A motion from Mr. Fletcher, second from Mr. Kino-Espina to refer. Any discussion or request for a roll call vote? I see none. Motion passes. Item 4 is referred. Item 5, operator license application for Farhio Mohammed. And it looks like Farhio.
Yep, I'm right here.
Excellent. Captain Donahue, can you get the ball rolling, please?
You hear the baby? Maddie, they're calling for me.
Good evening. So I don't know if you heard my spiel previously, but when you apply for a license, a background investigation is done, and there are a series of guidelines that are looked at by the folks that conduct the background. It appears as though there were a couple of guidelines met, and I will read those guidelines and then just ask you a couple of questions. The first is, provided the circumstances of the offense substantially relate to the circumstances of the job or licensed activity, any person who has been convicted of or has a current charge pending for 2 or more offenses arising out of separate incidents within the last 5 years in the following subcategories does not qualify for a license. The 2 that appeared in your background was a disorderly conduct from 2020 and an alcohol violation. It appears as though in September of 2017, which was you were convicted in April of 18 for operating a motor vehicle with an alcohol concentration of 0.08. And then there was also a similar charge in 2015. The other guideline that was met is it appears as though you did not list the disorderly conduct conviction, which was from June of this year.
This is the, oh, sorry. Oops. I'm not on mute.
So I'll just start. The first question I would have is do you have an explanation for not listing the disorderly conduct charge from just a few months ago?
Yes, ma'am. With that one, it was still pending. I haven't even attended court yet. And to be honest with you, my manager even went to online to see if that was going to be an issue. We couldn't find anything. So therefore, I did not list that one. I had my hearing on, I think, like August 25th.
Did you go to court? On the paperwork I have, it says that it was considered a failure to appear, and so there was a conviction.
No, ma'am, I did not go to court. I chose not to go to court, and then I got a letter saying that I either just need to make off the payment or it's going to go to collection. So I haven't even worked my way through for making those payments yet.
Okay, so the reason that you didn't list it was because it was not a conviction at the time?
Yep, it was not a conviction. And to be honest with you, I didn't even think it was going to be one.
Okay.
You know, I just thought because they sent me a ticket and I thought that's it. If either I would have to go to court if I didn't want to pay the ticket and explain myself why, or just drop it and like basically pay the ticket.
Is there a reason that you didn't go to court?
Yep, I just decided to not fight it and just pay my fee when I get a chance.
I see. Okay. And then the only other question I have is it looks like you have 2 prior convictions, just one 3 years ago and one just over 5 years ago for for OWI, and just the concern of being responsible for the sale of alcohol with a history of alcohol convictions.
Okay. Did you want me to explain that one?
Yes, please.
Okay, so yeah, I was just having like a really rough time with myself. I was going through a lot of depression and anxiety. And that time I didn't know how to get help, especially with my community. I'm from Somalia, from a different community. And that time was the hardest time for me because I've lost my mother. And then it just kind of, everything just went crazy. But I worked on it. I fixed myself. I've been to treatment. I successfully graduated from treatment. And then I have not had a drink ever since then. I just keep myself busy. I stay home with my children. I work 2 jobs. I work at the gas station, and then I also work for a home care. I did treatments and I did everything that I could to fix that. And I feel so much better about myself now. I'm not as depressed as I used to be. And alcohol is not my coping skill anymore. I turned to like anxiety pills. I don't take them anymore. I know I don't feel like it, but I also like have a backup in case I ever feel like going back. It's my therapy and then also staying on my medication.
Thank you. And then my last question was just whether or not you have a plan or how you would handle it if you are working and someone comes in and wants to purchase alcohol who's already obviously intoxicated, you know, what your plan would be in that case.
Yeah, I would definitely not sell it. I mean, I'm not trying to ruin my job. I keep this job to support my kids and to support myself. And to be honest with you, I've been working at this gas station for almost 2 months where I did have moments people intoxicated would come. So I just turned them down and then I just let them know that I can't sell it to you.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yeah. And then I just wanted to add one more thing on there. I don't work by myself. I do work with my manager and my coworker during the daytime. So they're always there too to help me out in case I have like situations.
All right, Alder Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, people need to stop calling.
Alder Carter, you're still on mute.
I just have one question for you. As part of your conviction, did you have to go through that therapy the alcohol therapy that you went through?
Yep.
Or did you do that on your own, or was it part of the conviction?
So those ones, it was part of the convention. But then when that didn't work out for me, I put myself through a really, really long treatment where I had to go stay there with my now 3-year-old daughter in the treatment place for 6 months.
So inpatient?
Yep, I went to inpatient where I stayed there for 6 months and just worked myself out of there little by little to come back to the community. And in there, that's the place that I really found myself the most.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Mr. Kino-Espina.
Thank you for answering all these questions. In the last one, there was, can you tell us what happened in 2020, just this last one?
Okay, so with this one, this is like the funniest one I've ever had because it was my neighbor upstairs. She just decided to call the police because she has I don't know what she has against me. She just didn't like me or something like that. Me and her kind of got into a little bit of argument. And then she decided to call the police. When the police came, they sided with her because I guess her boyfriend was on the phone or her boyfriend came home and I didn't have a witness. So that one I really wanted to fight to go to court for, but I just couldn't. I decided to just make my payment.
And was there alcohol involved in that last one?
Oh, no, sir. No.
Okay. And thank you for answering. You know, good luck with the treatment. Treatment does work. So
yep, it really does. I found myself a lot and I appreciate all the help that they gave me.
Recovery happens. So just keep working on it. Anybody else in the list, or can I make a motion, Doc?
There is Alder Verveer.
Thank you. First, I have a question or two for Captain Donahue, please. Captain, I didn't receive the MPD records background for this applicant. I don't know if my other colleagues received it, but I don't see it in the packet at all. So could you just confirm for me a couple things? One, the either pending or defaulted DC matter. Can you confirm, is that a civil forfeiture in Muni Court?
Yes, Alder, it was ordinance.
Very good. And then do you have the DMV abstract in your file? The reason I ask is you had mentioned 2 OWI convictions, but the application lists 3.
I think one of them is a refusal to submit to a chemical test, and I didn't mention that one. So I think you're right. That one is in September of 2015. Let me take a look at the abstract quick.
Thank you. And obviously I'll ask Ms. Mohammed to respond in a moment. Just to confirm.
Yes, that one is in the abstract from September of 2015, and that is separate from the From the, I think it's June of 2015. Yeah, June of 2015.
Okay. So you do show 3 on the abstract, all from Minnesota.
Yes, I apologize for that.
And the most recent was back in 2017.
Yes, so 2 of them, it appears as though there must have been a breath test because it shows alcohol concentration of 0.08 within.
Okay, I'll be outside in a second. Do you want, yeah, I'll be out there.
In June of 15, and a refusal to submit to a chemical test in September of 2015.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then Ms. Mohammed, are you still there? I see she's muted.
Yeah, if you should have a prompt.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm here.
great. No worries. Thank you for being with us tonight. I just wanted to confirm one thing last with you, ma'am, if I could, and that is, you had talked about the treatment that you've had, the alcohol treatment you've had because of the OWI convictions in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate a little further? Are you reinstated with your driving privileges because you've now completed that treatment?
I'm actually able to reinstate my driving. I just chose not to drive. I just still have like fear from all those, especially the last one since I had an accident. But all I have to do is just pay, I think, like $700 and get like the I think the machine hooked up into a car if I ever buy a car. So I just never bother because I don't even have a car. But in the future, when I did decide to get a car, then definitely I'll take care of that.
Okay, so your understanding is if you paid the money and had the device installed in your car, that then your driving privileges would be reinstated. That you did.
Yep. They've actually been restated like about 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, very good. We usually ask folks with multiple OWI convictions if they now qualify for driving privileges, because that would mean that you followed your alcohol treatment plan.
Yep.
So thank you for responding, and thank you for being here, and good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Alder Verveer. Captain Donahue.
Thank you, Chair. I do have one more question I forgot to ask. Are you currently under any kind of supervision?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, and were you on probation at one time?
Yes, I used to be, yep.
Okay, and when did you complete your probation?
I believe about, let me see, last November.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Captain Donahue. Mr. Kano Espina.
Is it okay to make the motion now?
It is.
Move to approve.
Your motion to approve. I see a second from Mr. Grady. Any discussion? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition indicate by raising your hand. Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. So that is item 5 approved. Next item is item 16. Third request to extend licensed issuance beyond the 180-day limit under MGO 38.05 for the Harvey House. This seems pretty straightforward. Mr. Verbeek, is there anything else that we need to know about this?
Not that I'm aware of. The applicant is here.
All right. Take it away.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, we somewhat based on COVID and somewhat based on construction issues, because we are working in a over 100-year-old building. It's just taking a lot longer to get our restaurant together. We'll be ready in the next couple months, but we've decided to delay until the spring so that we can set ourselves up for a better success for the financial success of the business.
I live in a 160-year-old house, so you have my empathy. Captain Donahue, I assume your hand is still up from before? All right, Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the applicant, Shaina, what is kind of your confidence interval that the construction issues are going to be resolved? As you noted, the complexities of kind of older properties, historic properties, in some extent, are kind of there. So, what's your confidence interval on this being resolved?
Well, I will knock on wood when I say this, but we seem to be through all of it. I think, and we're on finishes. So, we've installed the floor and we've installed all of our kitchen equipment and bars, and we're really just, doing all of the finishes at this point.
Shaina, can you remind me, so there have been, how many extensions has the committee granted previously for this?
This would be our third.
And when was your original approval?
Well, I jumped the gun a little bit, as my husband and I have not opened a restaurant before, and I wanted to get as prepared as possible and thought that I should apply for the liquor license. I think I was applying a touch on the early side. But I believe to be honest, I cannot remember the exact date that we applied for it, but well over a year ago.
The Common Council granted the license initially September 3rd of last year.
Okay, so not well over, but a little over a year ago.
Thanks, Jim. And then you also note a separate issue, maybe this is for the clerk, about this additional space that you'd like to consider adding on. Is where did your discussion land, Shaina, maybe with that?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to apply formally to extend our space. There's an additional space that's next to the building that the landlord built that was intended to be a retail space. And both because of COVID and because we thought that it would be nice to have an additional space to be able to utilize for events or smaller, if there was a larger party of about 20, we could use that space for that. But I was going to apply more formally for that space. We decided to take it on as our office space during the day and hopefully be able to use it as, a private space in the evenings as well.
And your intent would be to potentially, when are you thinking of applying for that with the clerk?
It's on my to-do list, so I'm hoping to do it by next week.
Okay.
We aren't thinking that we would open really until May. And of course, per your approval of that space. And if it isn't approved, we of course would not use that space for that purpose.
Thank you very much, Shaina.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Mr. Kano Espina, then Alder Verveer.
So I have a question for staff. So I don't know if the appropriate to do it now, or should we ask the applicant more questions and then come back to it?
Alder Verveer, did you have questions for the applicant?
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Fletcher asked my question and it was answered by Shaina.
Excellent. Thank you, Alder Verveer.
Thank you.
Mr. Kano Espina, go ahead, ask staff.
Thank you so much. So we have extended these 2 times, and if we extend this, it will be a 3rd time and kind of going into next year. The question for staff will be, are we setting a precedent? I know this is COVID and there's a lot of stuff, but are we setting a precedent that may open a kind of worms for other applicants to just, hey, I just want to get the license and then it's going to take me 2 years to open and you did it for this other person?
I will say that there are 2 things in that. One is we have granted, I'd have to look. I want to say there's a business that has been issued. I'd have to double check to see what it was. I think it might either be Union Corners or the Best Ships of the Friendships LLC or something like that. I think those are one of the ones who I think had 3 extensions. One other thing I would add is that since this applicant's last extension, the deadline has been doubled. So initially it was 90 days. And so when the first 2 extensions were granted, those were each 90 days. Now, because the ordinance has been changed, it's the deadline's now 180 days. So the extensions are 180 days. So if it was 180 days from the beginning, this would be the applicant's second extension. So that's something to consider.
And I'm not saying that I would like to extend it because COVID and everything that has happened, but at the same time, I just want to be mindful that that we're doing the same for everybody and that we're not treating people in a way that it will not be fair. So, and I also looked at that because it was 90 days before, and then I saw the 180. And so I didn't know that we had a 980 now, a 180 now. So that was my question. So if there's no more people, I will move to.
There are more people.
Sorry.
Mr. Fletcher.
Shaina, I have a question for the applicant, Mr. Chair. Shaina, you had mentioned kind of the actual construction work here being done really in the next couple of months, but you were, for business purposes, going to delay opening until May. Can you just talk about why that makes sense for the particular construct of your business? And again, presuming you're looking at kind of the effect of winter and things like that, but can you just elaborate on that for the committee's benefit slightly?
Sure, absolutely. Because of the 25% occupancy rules in Wisconsin, our business just really would not work long term with that limitation. So we're hoping to be able to do some outdoor seating, and like I said, use that space next door, kind of spread people out in a different way once we're able to open up windows and doors and things. We have a platform space that, sort of feels indoor, outdoor. It's definitely considered indoor space still. And so we're thinking if we open in May that we'll be able to kind of, have more ventilation, have some outdoor seating, and be able to, ride the business out through the summer and fall. Ideally hoping that, things a year from now will look very different. We're just hedging our bets because we really have put everything into this business. And so at this point to, just open as soon as construction's ready because we're ready personally to get going, just seems sort of like a disservice to our business.
Shaina, did I hear you correctly in the sense of if your licensed premise were to change into this additional space, where you're able to kind of space individuals out more, a little bit more, would you still open in May even if you had that additional space, or is it, would you be opening sooner potentially?
No, we would still wait.
Yeah.
I mean, even with 25% capacity and that additional space, when I do apply for that additional space, we'll also be applying for some outdoor space that our landlord has agreed to. I was waiting to apply for it until we really knew that we were taking over the space and really knew kind of what our proposal was for outdoor space. And now that we have some more clarity and have really crunched the numbers, and I feel more confident to be able to make that application. But that being said, I do think that waiting is the best thing for our business.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Any further questions for the applicant or staff? Would someone care to make a motion? Mr. Cano-Espina.
Move to approve the 180-day extension.
Motion from Mr. Cano-Espina, second from Mr. Grady. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Anyone who would like, or Mr. Cano-Espina?
So just for staff or for us to think about, so this will be, if like Jim said, if it will be like her second 180. Is there anything in the statute, and I'm sorry if that was saying and I didn't read it, that there was a limit on how many extensions is there? Nothing. Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
to have wasted the time to continue these extensions. It was definitely not our intention to do so many extensions.
Yeah, COVID has damaged a lot of people. So sorry. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition, please raise your hand so we can do a roll call vote. I see no opposition, so the motion passes. Item 16 is approved. We're now on to item 17, public hearing, new license for Hutong. Is the applicant here to speak? I see yes. Zhao Zhao?
Yes. Hi.
Hi there. Can you tell us a bit about the establishment you'd like to open?
Sure. My name is Zhao Zhao, and I'm the prospective buyer of the restaurant property at 410 East Wilson Street. I'm looking to open and operate a full-service restaurant at this location. The planned operation hours are from 11 to 9 Sunday to Thursday and 11 to 10 on Friday and Saturday. The planned opening date of the restaurant will be in February 2021. And the opening date could be delayed due to the impact of COVID. The restaurant will serve traditional Chinese food from northern China. The menu is including appetizers, Chinese-style sandwiches, kebabs, noodles, rice bowls, and fried food selections. The business focus on food service, so I expect the beverage sales, including liquor, wine, beer, and no-alcohol drinks, will take about 10 to 15% of the sales. And the capacity of the premise is 50 seats indoor and 34 seats outdoor. There is an outdoor patio in the backyard of the property, and there is a back gate on the patio for wheelchair ramps. The gate will remain closed and only be used for wheelchair accessible. Customers only allowed to access the outdoor patio through the main dining room. When the patio is open to use, a server will stay in the patio area for service at all times. I will also have a security camera set to watch the backyard entrance for security control. I will only play very light background music on the patio, and I will keep the minimal volume of the music to avoid disturb the surrounding neighborhood. That's the concept of the business.
Excellent, thank you. That was a very thorough answer. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? No questions for the applicant. What questions? Oh, Alder Carter, and then Mr. Fletcher.
I have a couple questions. What was the last restaurant that was there at this location?
That's the restaurant named Plaka. The owner is still running the restaurant now. Once we close the purchase, then they will close.
Okay, and for the background music, am I correct that, and maybe I'm confusing this with something else, but does she need an entertainment license for that?
To simply have...
It would need an entertainment license if she offered live music, a DJ,
Okay.
or designated dance floor.
Okay, so now for atmosphere music. Okay. So my other question is, other than the camera you have on the patio, what other security procedures have you thought about? Or is that it?
we also do you mean the security measure for the backyard or for the whole
for the whole restaurant?
Yeah, we will have a security camera in the dining room too, and maybe in the basement. So for management or and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because the only way to access the outdoor patio is to go through the back door. So if the patio is not open, we will close the back door. And like I mentioned, so if the patio is open, we will definitely set at least one person in the patio area, so to watch on it. So that's some of the plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did not have a question for the applicant. I did, though, wanted to follow up on Alder Carter's question. So this is more so directed at Jim. Jim, were there any conditions associated with Pacha's kind of licensing in the past?
There were not.
There weren't? Okay, thanks. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? None. Committee, what's your, Mr. Cano Espina?
Sorry, I was trying to raise my hand and I unmuted myself. And sorry.
Okay.
Just to confirm the hours of operation, because you did a very good explanation, but it was kind of fast. So every day to 9 p.m. except for Saturdays? And that is 10 p.m.?
Friday and Saturdays.
Oh, Friday and Saturday, 10 p.m. And did you had any, I don't know with COVID how we're doing the community meeting things, but did you had any neighborhood concerns about the closing time or any concerns from neighborhood?
No, I've been reaching out to the neighborhood association and they have no concerns for my application.
Everybody was supported or at least no concerns?
Yeah, okay. Probably because COVID. Everybody says welcome.
Okay, cool. Is there anybody else or can I make the motion? Because there was no conditions, I would just want to make the motion to approve with no conditions.
I hear the motion. Is there a second? See a second for Mr. Grady. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any opposition? Raise your hand so we can do a roll call vote. I see no opposition, so the motion passes. That is item 17 approved. And that brings us to item 18, public hearing, new license for X Golf Madison East.
Before we move on, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to answer Mr. Kenneth Smith's question about the informational session meeting. So the guidance we're giving new applicants is we don't want to encourage gatherings given COVID. And so what we're advising applicants to do is in the section on the orange sign that gives a location, is we're telling applicants to put a phone number and an email address. And so in the date and time they list, they should be available for 1 hour in that time frame to respond to any questions that the member public may have in contacting them through either of those two avenues.
Excellent. It might also be worth referring them to neighborhood associations if they are meeting virtually. I know the applicant for item 21 came virtually to the Tenny Lapham Neighborhood Association Council, and that worked just fine.
Yeah, they are encouraged to contact their neighborhood association regardless. And so if the neighborhood association has a recommendation to do it, that's under their purview.
Excellent, thank you. All right, do we have someone here from X Golf Madison East?
Yes, Aaron, you should have a prompt on your screen asking to be unmuted. Go.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
We can. Can you please tell us about your premise?
Absolutely. So my name is Aaron Klug. Myself with my brother Seth Klug will be opening the 26th franchise location for ex-Gulf America. Essentially, it is a PGA certified golf training center. So inside we will have 8 state-of-the-art golf simulators. In addition to that, there will be a full bar and a limited food menu. Limited meaning basically we'll be cooking via convection oven. Part of the operations of the golf operations will be lessons. There will be leagues. There will be hosting corporate outings. As far as the hours, we're looking at Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday from 9 a.m. till midnight. Saturday from 8 o'clock a.m. until midnight, and then Sunday from 8 a.m. until 7 o'clock p.m. We did hold a information session on October 2nd. At that time, I had the privilege to talk to Captain Corey Nelson of the Madison Police Department. Had a real good discussion. He kind of gave me a lowdown of the area a little bit and asked several questions around our operations. This is right next to the Princeton Club on the east side. So we're actually leasing from the Princeton Club. So in addition to their cameras that they have out in the parking lot, we have a private contractor. We're going to have 13 closed caption video cameras on a loop and stored on a hard drive and networked together. Of those, 3 of them will be outward facing. So we'll have full coverage on the inside and outside, kind of to support our patrons, making sure there's no questionable behavior going on. And if so, we certainly have the ability to document that sort of thing. That's the pitch. I guess I'd like to open it up to questions unless there's something else that you'd like to have answered.
I think questions is the right way to go. Ms. Westra.
I forget I get to unmute myself. So I see your anticipated opening date in November. What is your current business plan under COVID?
And I'll say right now it's probably trending towards probably December, early December. In addition to the other challenges with COVID, securing the SBA loan it took a little longer than anticipated. So the business plan from COVID, it's not great for anybody, right? And certainly we would like to have a full house of people and, serving drinks and serving food. The benefit for a model such as ours is we rent the simulators out by the hour. So with 8 simulators, if we have 8 people in there, one on a simulator, that's a successful business model. As it stands, we anticipate about 70% of our income will be golf related. Only 24% will be alcohol related, and food is after that. So the sale of liquor and food isn't a big part of our business model. And each simulator bay is approximately 24 feet deep and 18 feet wide. So, and they're set up so the patrons do not have to touch anything other than their golf clubs. There's controls on the floor where there's a patented ball launch where the ball comes automated out on a tee, so they don't even have to touch the ball. So it's a low touch environment. Obviously there'll be policies in place, and some of these are dictated by our franchise patrons. So this is a corporate mandate of cleanliness and cleaning guidelines. So we will be following that rigorously. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Westra. What other questions do people have for the applicant? Mr. Cano Espina.
So you said that you are franchised and you run this in other locations around the country. talk to me a little bit more about how the business is. And I know you're saying 70% or closer to 70% is the actual renting of the machines and people practicing. I'm just concerned that this will become like a bar and then just a little bit of playing. And I'm guessing it's not. So if you can tell me more about it, that would be awesome.
Sure, happy to. So we will be having leagues. Those will be probably at least a couple nights a week during the start. Basically, the appeal is the simulators, and I can give you the whole company pitch, but essentially they're the most accurate on the market, and they take 6,000 readings per second. So we market it that way, that we're a golf training center first. We have a certified Class A PGA professional is on our staff as our general manager. He will be holding lessons. He will be coordinating outings and that sort of thing. So that's the model. The percentages are gleaned off of the other 25 stores currently open. There is 2 others in Wisconsin. There's one in Brookfield that was open last September, and the owner is going to be opening up one in Mequon within the month, I think. So there is precedent in the state as far as that goes. But I guess I'm from a business model standpoint, that is the tried and true method of how to operate, and that's kind of what we're doing. You know, we certainly will serve alcohol, and we're happy to do that with our patrons. But again, it isn't a large part of our business plan, nor as it had been for any of the other locations. It isn't as big as the golf operations. So golf operations can also include club fitting, which is getting a tailored made session to assess your swing, and there's certain adjustments you can make to golf clubs to make it fit. You know, whether you're 6'5" or you're 5'5", that sort of thing. And there's other variations as well. So there's a lot of, we sell golf merchandise, that sort of thing. So that's where the golf operations as a 70% really comes in. But a lot of it is the simulator rental. And again, that's by the hour.
And the hours of operation, I see a couple of days that you go to midnight. Is that the hour that you will be selling alcohol until midnight? Are you thinking about having people playing golf at 11 p.m. and drinking?
It's a valid question, and these simulators aren't cheap, and that's certainly something we'll certainly be conscious of as the state of our patrons. Obviously, everybody working there will have the responsible beverage training certification to be looking out for those red, green, and yellow watch. So yeah, the plan is we would let people golf and rent simulators up until midnight and also drink. But obviously that's going to be monitoring. And, like I said, alcohol isn't a giant part of our business model. So we could opt to shut down alcohol sales at 10. We don't need that part of the income. So if I could, I would say that's subject to change. And the hours we may shorten. We may determine that there's an element from 11 to 12 that we just don't want. And we don't need that extra hour, sort of thing. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, I actually was hoping or thinking, or I was going to ask the captain if there was any concerns on having people drink. Like if
why don't we come back to that after people have asked the
other questions? Yes, you're right.
So, Mr. Klug, I have a question for you, because I'm not sure we're all picturing this correctly. Would you compare each of these bays to, say, a luxury SUV in size, complexity, and cost?
Cost, yes. Yeah, each bay, our price is $55,000 for each of the bays, so they're not cheap. Larger than an SUV. I think when you consider from the back of the bay to where you hit from, and then we have a couch or a table and chairs. I think we allow 28 feet length, and then the width is 18 feet wide. So certainly larger than in an SUV. So there is quite a bit of space. The space we're leasing is 10,000 square feet. So there's wiggle room and room for social distancing and for people to feel like they have enough space to enjoy it safely.
I'll say my thought hearing this is the first new business proposal I've heard during the pandemic that actually seems relatively well suited to a pandemic situation, given the amount of space per patron. Okay, Mr. Fletcher was next, then Alder Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just following on from kind of this line of questioning, Mr. Klug, if we kind of go back to your hours of operation, the 12 a.m. Kind of days that you've cited, do you know at some of the other locations, do they go up until midnight in other jurisdictions as well?
They do, and some even go later. I guess that being said, if the direction is we need to close earlier, you know, that's the direction we're happy to abide by. We see a business case for keeping open till midnight on Friday and Saturday nights, but if the city determines that's not in the best interest of the public, then, you know, we're certainly happy to abide by that. But those hours are fairly consistent across the various other stores across mostly the upper Midwest, but certainly now we're stretching into Kansas and we're stretching out to the Boston area and Rhode Island, that sort of thing too.
And when you, you know, just again, when we talk about operationally, just to kind of picture this, right? So have you seen or, you know, in discussions or yourself, kind of any issues with alcohol service late at night in some of the other jurisdictions that are operated by the, you know, in other jurisdictions?
Not really. I mean, everybody's really, it's our demographic is, I mean, it's a little more, it's a little more mid to high income as far as the core demographic. I'm sure there are, but as far as, you know, we were out in Michigan last week for franchise training, and the owners there is actually the chief operating officer and the chief financial officer, and they've been running their store for 4 years, and they've never had a alcohol related incident where, you know, it was an issue. Now, that being said, you know, we are fully in favor and plan to implement an incident log, and we feel like, you know, if we have to turn away a patron, that goes in the incident log, and we'll also have the video footage from probably 2 or 3 cameras that we can corroborate that information. So we feel confident in our model. We feel confident in training our staff to, you know, really, I mean, we don't have to be as tolerant as places where the alcohol is a large part of our income model. So we are, you know, we are happy to have you golf, but if alcohol is an issue, then, you know, that's something that is willingly taken away.
And then on talking of that, you mentioned kind of alcohol isn't a big part of your overall revenue, right? But you know, if I go to kind of question 25, it's not insignificant, right?
No, sir. It is not insignificant. Obviously, we're going for an alcohol license, and it is part of the business model. I don't mean to minimize. I don't mean to minimize it. I just, from a income standpoint, it isn't as big as the Gulf operations.
That's all. Oh, actually, I do have one other question, Aaron. So you, it says question 13 that you reside in Brookfield, correct?
Yes, sir.
Will you, how kind of hands-on are you going to be, given that you're the liquor agent at the opening of this establishment?
Well, yeah. I actually work in Sun Prairie, so I work pretty close, so I make the commute. We will also have a general manager. It'll be very close. My brother Seth is a co-owner. He lives in Oregon, so he's close. But that's the model right now. So I plan on spending a fair amount of time. I will be in the area. I will be spending time at the store.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Alder Carter.
Thank you. So, Aaron, I have just a couple questions. Based on your hours of operation, can you tell me when you think you'll be setting a last call announcement? And then the second question is that when you went up to training, are these leagues popular, or is this just a group of friends? You said there were leagues. The other thing is, if someone's, regardless of income, if someone is an avid golfer, would they be welcomed into your establishment? Because you specifically said an income range as your customer.
Yes. I'll address the last item first with the the novice golfer, and part of the elevator pitch is we actually are better suited for the novice golfer than if they wanted to go onto a golf course, because here you can essentially play at your own pace. You don't have to worry about people getting in behind you or holding up the show. You can literally learn at your own speed. And as I said, we have PGA professionals on staff. So we actually view ourselves as a very welcoming environment for the novice and beginning golfers. And that includes, we plan to have leagues for, hopefully, when we have camps in the summer for kids and leagues for men and women. You touched on the leagues. Across the various franchise locations, leagues are very popular. We would anticipate, especially during peak season, which is basically November through March, we'll probably be running 2 10-week leagues, and we would anticipate having each bay filled, or each bay took capacity of teams. So we do anticipate the leagues being very popular. They are very popular in other locations as well.
Okay.
What was the other question, ma'am? I'm trying to think of your first one.
I was just trying to determine when the last call announcement would be based on your hours.
Since we don't anticipate going up against any city or state mandated time, we're not going to be going until 2 a.m.
Right.
We would anticipate probably, when folks are walking around, we usually, just to keep things moving, our staff will be at 15 minutes walking by each bay and saying, you got about 15 minutes left. Can I get you one final drink? You need to probably finish your last 2 holes quickly if you'd like to get done with your full 18. So saying that we don't necessarily have a hard stop.
Right.
We're going to be closing well before, state mandated closure.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for you. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Very well. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Alder Carter. What other questions do people have for the applicant? Mr. Cano Espina.
So you mentioned actually that you actually talked to the police captain for this sector. Did the captain mention any concerns, any things that you were going to implement, any security plans, anything like that?
Captain Nelson seemed very satisfied with our security plan. I kind of ran through in detail what that looked like. He did mention, since we're sharing a parking lot with the Princeton Club, he did want to let us know that there has been a bit of a criminal element in that area. But we kind of agreed that the increased traffic that X-Golf will produce hopefully will kind of keep that element a little further into the periphery. But after our conversation with Captain Nelson, we actually had our security contractor add an additional camera that facing an additional direction, just to get a little more coverage on the outside. We also will have security measures on the doors as far as motion and that sort of thing. So that's all been, and it's the contractor that's been used in the other X-Golf locations. So a lot of the benefit of being in a franchise is we get vendors that are kind of tried and tested and have positive relationships and have good relationship with the local municipalities as far as compliance and effectiveness.
And then my last question to you, and this is just my own personal opinion, so maybe the committee will not go with that, but would you feel okay, or would you agree to a stopping alcohol at 11 p.m.? Not closing the business, but stopping alcohol at 11 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the direction, we would be, I wouldn't say happy, but we would be okay with that direction if that was the decision.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Alder Carter.
Oh, rats. I was muted. Would you be serving food until closing?
Well, within reasonable time frame. We're not going to pop in a pizza with 15 minutes left, but within reason. We hadn't really planned on limiting that. And again, our food is fairly elementary as far as cooked in convection ovens. So we're looking at your standard bar food, pizza and big pretzels. Probably have a couple of sandwiches, sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Captain Donahue.
Alder Carter asked my main question, which was whether or not food would be available. But if I could ask Mr. Cano Espino, just the basis for not being able to have alcohol past 11, is it the concern of greater intoxication, or I'm just curious what the concern is?
Yeah, that is exactly right. The concern is that you can come in around 9:30, 10 p.m. You're gonna do the 18 holes, and you consume alcohol for 2 hours, and now it's midnight, and you are extremely drunk, and then you drive around the city. So that's when I golf, which I'm not very good, it takes a long time. So I don't know if it's inside it's gonna be less or whatever, but just from my own personal experience of seeing some people drink a long quantity of alcohol while they were golfing. So
I guess if I could,
that kind of stuff, but that's just my own thing. And again, I am thinking in my head, I don't know if I'm going to make that as a motion. I'm just kind of reflecting on it for myself.
I guess my counter there, sir, would be we actually provide more distract. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Please wait until somebody asks a question before addressing the committee.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Captain Donahue, did you have any further questions?
I do, just a bit of follow-up. I guess this might be for the clerk. My concern is if I think about this, somebody who's there engaging in some sort of activity might be less likely to just simply pound down alcohol than someone who's at a bar where there's no form of entertainment or something like that. And I would liken it to maybe a bowling alley or something similar, and would just ask, do we limit bowling alleys? I certainly, if they're going to be closing at midnight, I can't imagine that they're going to be serving alcohol much before midnight. So just thinking that same thing through.
I don't think we have a standard in which we limit bowling alleys.
Thank you, Captain Donahue. Mr. Fletcher.
Jim, but just to follow up on that line of questioning, this isn't the first establishment that's had kind of golf simulation in the past few months, right, that we've considered. Did we have any, I know down, for instance, different location, slightly different space as well, I'll grant you that, right? But I think we've had at least one that I can think of, if not two.
Yeah, there's for sure one on State Street. And then I feel like there's one I want to say on the east side, like around Stoughton Road as well. I can't exactly think of that. I think I might be thinking of a soccer place, but I know for sure there's a State Street one that was applied for. If not within the year, it's been probably close to a year since they first applied.
Could you let us know what the kind of, were there any restrictions put in related to that particular establishment?
I'm pretty sure there were for the one on State Street, but that's the case for many places on State Street. Yeah, I would completely agree with you, Mr. Chair. And I just, I'm looking at something that's, you know, I definitely think we had at least one more establishment with, you know, in this kind of space since the State Street location, but I would just be curious about that location.
So the other one I'm thinking of was Madison Indoor Golf, 2425 Stoughton Road, applied last year. Looks like they were granted in October last year, and there are no conditions on that license.
All right, anything further, Mr. Fletcher?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Captain Donahue again, then Mr. Cano-Espina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just messaged with Captain Nelson of the East District and just want to add that he doesn't have any concerns with them remaining open and having alcohol until midnight.
And I did find the other one. It was at 508 State Street. And there's one condition, and it's about ceasing alcohol by 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and midnight on Friday and Saturday.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Cano-Espina.
Jim, what time does the other one closes? Not the one on State Street, but the other one.
It's a good question. I'll have to check out the application on that.
And if I'm the only one that has this concern, nobody else has the concern, I can just move to approve with no restrictions, and we don't have to continue this conversation. Seems like that's okay. So
I think it's worth knowing if Jim can find it relatively quickly.
Oh.
No pressure, Jim.
I will wait.
And while we're waiting, Alder Verveer, have you had any feedback of the one on State Street?
Would you like me to respond, Mr. Chair?
That would be excellent, Mr. Alder Verveer.
Thank you. So I have not heard any negative concerns whatsoever about, it's called 7 Iron Social. That would be a good question for Captain Donahue. However, I will note, and I think the application that Mr. Fletcher is thinking of is, I noted that the ALRC granted a license to new Blind Shot LLC doing business as Blind Shot Golf and Social Club on South Fair Oaks Avenue at our August meeting. And I think that's the one that probably comes to mind for some of us. I thought that's what Mr. Fletcher was thinking of. And according to Legistar, there were no conditions on that golf simulator establishment, again, that we saw only a couple months ago.
So thank you, Alder Verveer.
I did find the application for the one on Stoughton Road. So the hours you were looking at was Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to midnight.
And if I could jump in, I'm looking at the application for the establishment we considered in August, and their hours are consistent with this application of midnight closing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if I'm reading the handwriting correctly on the application.
That looks right to me too.
All right, thank you, Alder Verveer. Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Chair, given the kind of comparables that we have, and given I think all the other factors that we've considered this evening, I would just move approval.
All right, I hear a motion. See a second from Mr. Cano Espina. Any discussion? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition, please raise your hand. Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. Item 18, new license for X-Golf Madison East is approved. Our next item is item 20, public hearing, new license for Rosati's Pizza. And do we have someone here to speak about this?
Yes, Talat Mahmood, you should have a prompt to unmute yourself.
I'm here.
There you
go. Could you please tell us about your proposed business?
Basically, Rosati Pizza is a Chicago authentic pizza. We have only 20 people sitting area with like a dining area next to over, the kitchen is. So our business model is basically, we primary focus is all the food pizza and not really liquor. So we just, since we have little dining area, so we do serve wine and beer. So that's kind of really like a 1% of the sale. So kind of this year is very unique because of the COVID. We don't even open that actually dining area right now. So our focus is all about food, so pizza and stuff like that. It's all about deliveries, takeout and stuff like that.
So you say pizza, but it's a Chicago chain. So is it what Chicago considers pizza or what everybody else thinks?
It's a franchise. Rosati is a franchise. They have 200 locations. Basically, they started from Chicago. So now they are nationwide. They have about over 200 locations. So, I mean, this location has been there almost over 20 years. So we just took over as a new owner. So there was another person who was running this for about 16, 17 years. They have another one on the east side. So it's Rosati, my Rosati's. So it's a franchise.
Excellent. Mr. Fletcher, then Mr. Cano Espina.
I think one of my questions was just answered in the conclusion, which is I know the Rosati's chain down on Mineral Point. I was going to ask kind of why we were seeing an application. So I think I can yield my time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Mr. Cano Espina.
Mine was exactly the same. So if there's nobody else, I can move to approve.
Mr. Fletcher has his hand up as well.
Yeah, I do have one question. Mr. Mahmood, can you, is the 1% based on obviously prior receipts then at the establishment? It just seems inordinately low, but I guess I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you the number based on the last year because we took over in May. So I can, but the numbers that the previous owner provided us, the sales of the liquor, I mean, it was more of like beer and the wine. I mean, sorry, it was actually I personally don't drink, so I don't know the names of it. So basically, so like that was kind of the business model. Like we don't really open long hours, so we have midnight hours only dedicated for the food. We don't actually open the dining area for any liquor or anything. So if over operations hours showing you guys like it's at 10 p.m. So we kind of shut down the dining area by 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. depends on our operation. So we kind of, because we always have a dedicated server on the other side. So based on the last year number, this is the exact number that he showed us. So I can just give you that number because I personally, this is kind of new year for us. So since we took over, so we haven't sold anything. So I don't have any receipts or anything.
Sure. No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Alder Carter.
Yes, so I am confused. The owner previous to you gave you the percentage of 1%. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, but since you've owned this business, you've just done carry out.
Carry out. It's all the carry out.
Or delivery, carry out.
Delivery, carry out, delivery, and third party apps, which is Uber and DoorDash and all of that other stuff.
Okay, so Okay, thank you. I have a question for Jim. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any further questions for the applicant? All right, Alder Carter, you have questions for staff?
Well, I just have a question for staff because I think that, you know, this applicant has never served alcohol because of the situation we're in. And I personally think 1% is pretty low. So what's the guideline there? And do we have a guideline? Because if we don't, that's fine too.
I mean, I don't think we have a guideline. Are you asking about like what? Do you have a guideline on if somebody lists a low percentage of their alcohol?
Right. When they haven't sold any, so they don't know the percentage, basically.
I mean, I think that we ask for that number as a way for us to understand the business.
Just an estimate.
And also to see if they're at risk of being over 50% alcohol. Given that this is an existing restaurant being taken over by a new owner, we can reasonably expect that it will be operated in a similar manner to how it has been before. And even if it wasn't 1%, it certainly was a small amount of the business.
Okay, thank you.
And we do ask for the percentages again every year for renewal time. So the application is sort of an estimation, and then you should be getting sort of real numbers from the renewal. And so if we ever see a situation where somebody applies for less than 50% alcohol, and then at renewal time, there's suddenly more than 50% alcohol, that's something that the clerk's office would flag as needing to go to a separated renewal hearing.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Alder Carter. Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Committee, what is your pleasure? Mr. Cano Espina.
Move to approve.
Your motion, is there a second? Mr. Grady, any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, anyone in opposition, please raise your hand. I see no hands. The motion passes. Item 20, new license for Rosati's Pizza is approved. Next item is 21, public hearing, new license for Cork and Bottle, just a few blocks from my house. I don't think it's a meaningful disclosure, but I am a regular customer at this store. Chad Vogel, care to tell us about what you're going to be doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm also in the neighborhood, and I own the Robin Room down the street. And as far as the Cork and Bottle is concerned, Jim, the longtime owner, I think he's owned it for 20 years, and his family before that, they've been operating for 60 years, and I don't really plan on changing a thing other than giving my staff members that don't have jobs right now some work for the winter.
Excellent. Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Vogel, are you going to be changing any of the operations? Just confirming that.
Not in any meaningful way. You know, putting some new pictures on the wall, maybe because they're taking some with them, and maybe instead of having boxes of wine, put some racks up. But the storage places are the same. It's a very small place. There's not too many changes you can possibly make, really. It's been a shop that's basically served that neighborhood, mostly walking traffic, for a long time, and I don't plan on messing with that in any sort of way.
And then, Chad, are you aware of any conditions that are on the establishment currently? And I redirect to the clerk, and it sounds like
there are not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Any additional questions for the applicant or staff? Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
I would move approval, Mr. Chair.
Your motion, is there a second? See a second from Ms. Westra and some people in the queue. Alder Carter.
No, I was going to second. That's okay.
Excellent. Any discussion? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition indicate by raising your hand. I see no hands. Motion passes. Item 21, new license for Brick and Bottle is approved, and I get to keep my local liquor store.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I just want to, I noticed that the applicant for item 19, which we referred on the consent agenda, is an attendee here in Zoom, and I didn't know if perhaps he was here not knowing that we've passed him, and so I didn't know if we want to allow him to speak real quick, just to make sure that's not the case. He didn't know that we had referred that item.
Are any committee members in, actually, this was on the consent agenda to be referred. Why is that the case?
He was on the consent agenda to be referred based on the Alder's recommendation. He wanted the applicants to appear, I believe, virtually with the neighborhood association before he would give his blessing on us to move past ALRC.
Okay. Given that, and given that there was no one registered to speak at the time that we voted on the consent agenda, I see no need to revisit that item we've already disposed of, but it is kind of you to let the individual in the gallery know that we have already disposed of that item.
Okay.
Okay. Next up is item 22, and we have nothing to report on that yet. So I would request a motion to refer to the next ALRC meeting. I see a motion from Mr. Fletcher, a second from Mr. Cano Espina. I'm pointing to you individually as if you can tell who I'm pointing at. Any discussion of the motion to refer? Hearing none. Anyone in opposition indicate by raising your hand. Motion passes. Item 22 is referred to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Item 23, report of recent calls for service. Captain Donahue, is there anything you'd like to call to our attention?
There isn't anything notable.
Committee, you have any questions for Captain Donahue? All right, moving right along. Item 23, summary of licenses issued. Mr. Verbeek, is there anything that you'd like to call to our attention?
I have nothing further to add.
Committee, any questions for Mr. Verbeek? All right, in that case, a motion to adjourn would be in order. See a motion from Mr. Fletcher, second from Mr. Cano Espina. This motion is not debatable, so we will go immediately to voting. All in favor of, I think there's a button for this, yeah. All in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed have the same privilege. Meeting is adjourned at 7:19 p.m.